Yeah, so my topic is robotics and AI. Actually, when automation comes into picture, robotics also means when we look at the automation, and robotics play a great role in that, and therefore actually my research is also on this topic, so I have chosen this topic, robotics and AI. And the main focus will be the control of the robotic manipulators using the artificial intelligence techniques. So initially I'll be actually introducing the robotic manipulator and what a robot is, and then we'll be talking about the modeling of the different robotic manipulators. Two manipulators we have chosen, that is serial robotic manipulator and parallel robotic manipulator. And then the motivation behind this work, the control strategies which we have used, and because the control strategies are a bit complex, so we required optimization techniques also, and then the results, and finally the conclusion. So we know robot, but when a layman or in general, when we say a robot, then picture comes into being like animation type of thing, or something which is a human being like uh, entity which will be working like a human. When it comes to industry, there are different types of robotic systems present, and it's not exactly we can say that it's a human being, but it is something different. So a robot is nothing but a software controlled mechanical device, and it uses sensors to guide itself, and the motions are programmed, and there is a certain workspace which it can use to manipulate physical objects. Manipulate means so movement of the objects means some materials will be moved, parts will be moved, or some tooling operation will be done, or different types of operations will be done using that device. So it's a reprogrammable multifunctional manipulator, and it works through programmed motions, and a variety of tasks can be performed using the robots. And in industry, and even it has a variety of, we can say, field where it we find the applications of robots. The use of robot in various engineering fields has grown day by day, and in accuracy as well as precision are also improving. The effective movement of the manipulator requires the tight position control. The control has to be very proper so that it can show movement, and if the movement and the joint movement is okay only, then a particular task can be efficiently accomplished. Now, the different characteristics which we require for a robot is it should show repeatability, means for the same instructions the output must be exactly same, and there should be control manual as well as automatic, and what speed of operation we want, that should also be there. So these are the characteristics. And in general, when we talk from the research point of view, or at the university levels or at the research levels, what we do is we model the simplest form of the robotic manipulator, and then we can say analyze all the control strategies on that models, and finally those the new strategies which we have developed that can be used for implementation at a large scale also, finally in the industry. So we start with the simplest, you can say, manipulator, or not very simple, but you can say sufficient, you can say complication, or sufficient, you can say simplicity is also there, but not that 100% simple. So it's somewhere in between. So you have a manipulator, and the manipulator, which also means it's related to it also replicates the robot, and it is also a, you can say, simple one. So it mimics the human arm, means uh, we when we talk about the human arm, we know that we have a waist joint, we have a shoulder joint, we have elbow joint, we have hand, we have fingers. So all these things, they are modeled mechanically. So when we say, we means we have certain links which will be joined to each other, and these links correspond to the chest or the waist, and upper arm, forearm, and the joints corresponding to the shoulder, elbow, wrist. And at the end of the arm, we have a tool, gripper, or when we say human being, it will be a hand. So the tool may have one, two finger or more finger. It may have a clamp. It will hold the object, pick it up from a place, and drop it at the another end. So this is one figure, a typical figure from representing a simple robotic arm, you can say. So actually what happens here is we have a yeah. So what happens is, so this part is the base. Here we have a joint, means this portion can move up and down. So this forms a joint here. Then here also we have a joint. This portion represents the elbow. This portion can go up and down. So it's a joint here, and it's an elbow joint. So this is your upper arm. This one is the forearm. And finally, this part can rotate in three, you can say, orthonormal directions. Rotation in the three directions, so as to orient the final, you can say, end point or the tool according to the requirement, or where the object is placed. So this is the example of a typical robotic manipulator. We have a if we talk about the complete robotic system, then we have a manipulator, which I have already shown. Then pedestal means the base part which supports the manipulator, and it acts as the counterbalance. It is actually very heavy, so that it can hold the load of the wrist, hold the load of the complete links, and then along with that tool, or whatever the force is coming from the environment, that also needs to be handled using this pedestal or the base. And we also have the controller. Actually, we have seen that here we have joint which will move. Here also there will be some movement, here some movement, and accordingly all these movements need to be motorized, or all these joints need to be motorized, and the movement come from the you can say devices, suppose a motor, and when the motor rotates, then using the gear trains, then these joints will rotate. So all these coordination needs to be done with the help of the brain, and that is controller. Or this controller can also be, you can say, replaced, or it is also you can say PC, or some another electronic system which you can say controls the system, complete system. So what happens is the controller, it issues instructions to the robot, means through the controller we can issue instructions that the robot movement should be this much, and the end effector, the last point, the hand must reach this object, pick it up, and then bring it to some another position. So accordingly, so these instructions are given through the controller. And how this interfacing means, controller also consists of the interfacing part, means if a human being wants to give the you can say what is the position of the robot, if we want to know as human being, then all this interfacing with robot human interface is also done using, or is also contained in the controller section. And it also controls the peripheral devices. And then finally the end effector means after the hand, whatever we have hold in our hand, because what our hand does, it picks up, suppose an object from one portion, and then keep it another somewhere else at a desired position. We also write something sometimes with the help of the hand. We do a lot of work. So all these works require our can say end effector or our hand to hold different things. sometimes we need to grip, sometimes we need to do some means hold a pen, or sometimes we simply have to hold it, hold and keep hold the object and pick and place. So all these you can say works need to be done using different types of end effectors. Using the, you can say, our hand is a, you can say, our human hand is, it's not easy to build a human hand exactly, but still we, the researchers, they are trying to make it a replica of the human hand. And then it also because there are motors involved and computers involved, electronic devices involved, so we require power source also. This is one picture, not very clear, but still I can tell you that this is your controller section, which controls all the, can say, devices, instructions to the manipulator and other devices also. And this lower section, it represents the power supply, and through some wiring arrangement, it is connected to the, you can say here, this portion, this is nothing but the vehicle, and above the vehicle is placed a robotic manipulator. So a typical industrial robotic manipulator, this one, you can see this is one joint, this is another joint, here we have a hand or gripper. And what this vehicle is doing, vehicle is making the robotic manipulator to move from here to here. Okay? And the remaining work to be done, positioning of the wrist and orientation of the wrist to be done using the manipulator. And the main positioning, basic positioning, is done using the vehicle. So these are the, you can say, a simplest robotic manipulator system. Mobile robots, here we have seen that vehicle is also there, and the vehicle, actually this vehicle is also controlled using the controller here. So mobile robot means the robots which can move, then the industrial robots, welding, material handling, painting, loading, unloading, lot of operations are done in industry. Then domestic robots are also there, which can, suppose, say a robotic vacuum cleaner or a pool cleaner, etc. Then lot of robots means are also used in the surgery, in medical field. So surgery robots, then the military robots, the bomb disposal robot, and different transportation robots, drones, all these are different, you can say, applications of the robots. And as I have already said, that if we talk about the complete robotic system, then it comprises of links, joints, as I have shown you. Arrangement. So power transmission device. So power is transferred from the actuator to the joints using gear or chains or belts, etc. Then sensors are required to see where the object is lying. To sense the environment, LVDT can be used, cameras are used, force torque transducers are also used. A variety of transducers are used to sense the environment. And then the electronic controller, the brain part, microprocessors, can be with AD or DA conversions. It may also require storage, memory. So this, depending upon the application, apart from the electronic controller, we may also have computers. Sometimes the whole work is done by computerized system only. Sometimes only the microprocessor type of arrangement is also sufficient. So this is the schematic diagram, we can say, block diagram form. This one is your base, heavy base. Here we have the first joint, and then say this one is the forearm link. This one is the, upper arm link. This one is the forearm link, and this box represents the wrist. And finally, these hand or fingers, these are the end effector. and this is your object or the workpiece which we need to manipulate. Means we want to pick it from here and say we want to place it somewhere else. And while actually dealing with the robotic systems, and while analyzing them or while analyzing the control strategies, because we know that large industrial systems cannot be used just for experimentation purpose. So for experimentation purpose, for experimentation or for validation of the new control strategies, what we need is we need to test those strategies first on the mathematical models, then we test them on the very small models, and depending upon that the design of the you can say controllers are done, and finally when the successful output is seen, then they can be implemented onto the industrial systems. So to start with basic things, means the mathematical model. So while doing the mathematical modeling of the robotic system, what we do is we have different, you can say, steps in that. Now, while modeling it, we require kinematics. Then we also need to know what is the velocity and acceleration of the different links, what are the forces involved, and finally the torque of the motor, servo motor which we are using, then the forces, and depending upon all these, you can say, kinematic modeling, using all that we can form a robot dynamic model. So what happens, what is kinematics? When we say kinematics, then what happens is, because suppose this part is fixed and I assign a orthonormal 3D, you can say, frame to the base. And what we do is we keep this manipulator in the home position, means all the joints in zero position. So if I want to make this joint in zero position, then it should be completely like this. Okay, as a straight horizontal mein. All the joints having zero angle. Okay, only two joints, wrist also in the home position. And in the home position we assign frames, means we attach frames. This is frame one, base frame. Then we attach frame to each and every link, to the wrist also, and finally frame is attached to the end effector also. And we also know the position of the workpiece in terms of the reference frame. So what happens is we need to know that if this is the theta 1 is the movement in this joint, suppose theta 2 is the movement in this joint, then what should be the position of the end effector? So that is your kinematic model. Means if you supply the movements of the different joints, then you should be able to tell what is the position of the end effector. And that is done using the frame assignment. So we assign frames, we attach a frame, 3D frame is rigidly attached to the different links, and then the relationship between the two frames, two consecutive frames, is obtained using a 4x4 transformation matrix, this one. And using so there will be one transformation matrix which is relating the frame of link 1 and link 2, then a transformation matrix relating the, you can say, translation and rotation of frame this with respect to this frame. And finally we can also have the rotation or translation relationship of the end effector with respect to the base frame. So once we know this, means if this is the position of the base, then this should be the position of the end effector. And another way around also we can do, inverse kinematics are also there, that if this is the position of the workpiece, by how much these joints must rotate so that your end effector reaches this workpiece. So that is your inverse kinematics, when your final position is given and you want to evaluate the angle. So this is purely the, you can say, spatial representation of the end effector with respect to the reference. It does not involve any, can say, forces, it does not involve velocity, it does not involve internal forces, or actuation forces is also not involved in this particular case. It is purely spatial, you can say, representation or spatial relationship of the end effector with respect to the base. That deals with the kinematics. Then we also, because while making a robotic manipulator to move, we should also know what is the velocity, by which velocity should the link move, what should be the acceleration. So those relationships are drawn using the, we can say, transformation matrices, and we can find out the Jacobian, which helps us in finding out the velocity of the end effector with respect to the velocity of the joints. Similarly, then we also know what is the forces, what are the different forces acting on the different links, what is the force input also, because end effector is also experiencing force from the environment. So using means the environmental forces, there will be some internal forces, that is centrifugal forces, Coriolis forces, frictional forces, different types of forces, inertial forces. All those forces then will be dealt with, and even the force which is coming from the joint also. Okay? So force and the torques both. So forces and torques which are supplied by the motor to the joint, all these the study, or we can say with the help of these forces and the kinematic, we can obtain a dynamic model. So coming to the actually in this portion I am taking two types of manipulators. One is serial robotic manipulator and another is parallel robotic manipulator. Serial robotic manipulator means it is a chain of links. Okay. But if it is a parallel robot, it will form a loop also. We'll see to it. A famous parallel robotic manipulator is Maryland manipulator. And simple one, we can say, not the simplest, but a simple robotic manipulator serial is a two-link rigid manipulator, planar manipulator. So these are the manipulators which we are going to take. And why are we going for this work? Because robotic manipulators, they are highly complex. We have seen that a lot of forces are involved. Geometrical relationship also needs to be known, and the dynamics are also vague, and it is continuously moving, dynamic, highly dynamic system. And it requires, because if I want my end effector to move efficiently, then I should have a accurate and tight position tracking. And this is really a challenging task, because when suppose a robotic manipulator is doing surgery, there should not be any, you can say, misalignment of the end effector. It should be in a proper place with proper precision and accuracy. So we require control, you can say, proper controllers, efficient controllers, robust controllers must be there to have the proper position tracking of the end effector. And when we say, suppose, because servo motors are there, and in servo motors we have cogging, eccentricity problem, which introduces sinusoidal disturbances into the, you can say, inputs, and therefore inputs from the, or actuation, disturbance in the actuation, and therefore we need to take care of this also. We need to minimize these, means we should have controllers which should reject this disturbance. And the controller must also be able to provide, because the dynamics are vague, so it must be robust also. So for minor changes in the, you can say, inertia, or minor changes in the parameters of the system, controllers should not deviate from the, you can say, target. Then stability is also an issue. Stability must also be there. Then so all these problems, stability, proper position tracking, disturbances, and you can say vague dynamics, means disturbance in the models, perturbations in the parameters, all these issues, they require an efficient, intelligent control, so that we have a good position tracking of the manipulator. So in this particular figure, we can see it's a two-link rigid manipulator. Actually, we also have flexible manipulator. Flexible manipulator means this link can also bend. But here we are talking about rigid manipulator. It will always remain straight, and one movement is possible here. So this is your theta 1. Another movement of the second link with respect to the first link is represented in terms of the angle theta 2. We have assumed here this to be mass m1, this link with mass m2, length l1, l2, and this is the position of the end effector. So what we want to do, we want our end effector to track the, you can say, the end effector should track a reference trajectory. So this represents the mathematical model of the system, including everything, kinematics, or the, you can say, transformation matrices and all the parameters of the system, mass, length, then what is the acceleration here? This theta 1 double dot is the acceleration of the joint 1, acceleration of the joint 2, and this tau 1, tau 2 is nothing but the torque input from the two motors. These joints are suppose motorized joints, and the input torque is coming from two motor, or suppose from one motor with two gear links, that can also be there. So we have a torque supplied to the manipulator, and this is how this torque is used in this complete torque or force used in the robotic manipulator. Actually, this tau does not simply mean torque, it also means force. If it is because we have two types of joint, one is rotary joint and another is prismatic joint. My rotary joint is providing us the movement. Here we have both joints as rotary. Sometimes we may also have translation of the manipulator. So this link may move further and come back. Okay, movement in this direction. So if there is translation of the link, it's called as prismatic joint, and that requires force. And when we say rotary joint, then it requires a revolute joint. It requires a torque. So torque and force, they are means can be represented using tau here. And these are the different forces. The first component of the force is because of the inertia. Then these are the different forces are there. This force, the last two components, they represent the acceleration due to gravity. Then these other components are because of, we can say that, Coriolis force and centrifugal forces. So two equations, because we have two joints, so it's a 2 degrees of freedom manipulator, and so two equations will be written. So one for tau 1 for joint 1 and another for joint 2. And here we have considered, actually when we say C1, C2, then it is cos theta 1, cos theta 2. When we say C1, when we write C1, 2, it's cos theta 1 plus theta 2, and so on, sin theta 1, sin theta 2. These are the values of the parameters which we have taken from the literature, and mass of the two links, lengths of the two links, then the torque is in terms of Newton meter, and theta variation, angular variation, is measured in terms of radians. Then we also talked about the parallel manipulator. Parallel manipulator is having some loops. So here you can see that certain loops are formed. It is, you can say, complicated type of parallel manipulator, and it has 3 degrees of freedom. It has 3 identical limbs connecting a moving platform M. So this is your moving platform M. This one is the fixed platform, which is S, and there are 3 links, 3 identical limbs. So this one is one limb, this is second limb, and this acts as the third limb. So 3 limbs are there to, you can say, to control this moving platform. This M is a moving platform. It can move up, down, shift, tilt, or depending upon the forces which are, or angles of these joints. So this is your Maryland manipulator, but you can say complicated type of system. We have theta 1i, theta 2i, theta 3i for the three links, joint angles. And this is the mathematical modeling of the system because it's a 3 degrees of freedom system. So we have the first portion represents the inertial force, then this one is the gravity force due to gravitation. These are the forces due to Coriolis and centrifugal forces. And similarly for the another two joints, these are the different values of the parameters and design parameters of the manipulator taken from the literature. Then talking about the control strategies, here three new control strategies are designed, that is non-linear fractional order fuzzy PD plus fuzzy I controller, then non-linear 2 degrees of freedom fractional order fuzzy PD controller, and then we have the linguistic Lyapunov fuzzy controller. But to compare these with the, you can say, conventional techniques, the PID, most conventional is PID, and another variant of these, that is FOPID, and 2 degrees of freedom PID controller are also designed, and the results are compared. We know PID controller, we have the control output of the controller, UT, and input to the controller is the error. So this error is modified using the three, you can say, control elements. One is the proportional control element, this one is the integral control element, this one is the derivative controller. So all these combine a PID controller, and because the values of these Kp, Ki, Kd, these values need to be tuned for different applications. Suppose I have one application, then Kp, Kid, Kd will be different. For some another application, they should be different. So accordingly, these need to be tuned. And if we control of higher order, non-linear, time delayed, complex systems is beyond the capability of PID controller. This is the simplest one. But if the complex system is complex, non-linear, having time delay, then the PID controller does not provide a very good control. Then we have a fractional order controller, fractional order PID controller. Here what happens is the integral portion, because in the previous expression, if we see the integral portion, I can say that it is raised to the power 1, integer value. Similarly, here the differential portion raised to the power of 1. But here the integral, that is 1 by s, raised to the power lambda. Here the differential, that is s, raised to the power mu. So when we say fractional order, means the integral portion and the derivative control action, they are not the integer values, they have the fractional values. The value lies, the value of lambda and mu, it lies between 0 and 1. So that forms a fractional order control, PID controller. And here you can see that in the previous PID controller, we have 3 tuning parameters, Kp, Ki, Kd. But in case of fractional order, we will have 2 more parameters to be tuned, that is lambda and mu. So 2 more parameters need to be tuned. And this actually provides a great flexibility in the controller output. Then we have another type of controller, which is 2 degrees of freedom PID controller, where we have actually this error is given to this controller, as well as or the feedback which comes here from as the from the output, it goes to this controller, as well as it also goes to this. And finally the C dash is this one, and CB is this one. So here also you can see that in case of 2 degrees of freedom controller, 2 parameters more are introduced. In a normal PID controller, we have 3 parameters, whereas in the 2 degrees of freedom, we have 2 more, that is alpha and beta, apart from the Kp, Ti and Td parameters. Then we have actually designed non-linear fractional order fuzzy PD and plus fuzzy I controller. So actually when we say PID controller, then it is P plus I plus D controller. But here in this case, we have taken fractional order fuzzy PD and plus fuzzy I controller. So it's a combination of fuzzy PD and fractional fuzzy I derived in two ways, two stages. Fractional order PD is first derived from the fractional order PD. एक PD पहले बना लिया, and using that we will make the fractional order fuzzy PD, and then the fractional order fuzzy I is derived from fractional order integral controller, and finally the overall control law obtained from this one and this one, it is combined and it gives a fractional order fuzzy PD and fractional order, the combination of these two will give us fractional order fuzzy PD plus I controller. So this is some mathematics involved in the fractional order fuzzy PD controller. Control output of the fractional order fuzzy PD. We know this is a KP, this is KD. These are subscripts just to represent that it's a PD controller. So Kp, Kd and S raised to the power lambda. So these we know proportional gain, derivative gain, tracking error, E is the error and lambda is the parameter to be tuned. And here we have used the backward transformation to convert this S, the system from S domain to Z domain. Then the you can say a control law or control action using the fractional integral controller. Here you have Ki, Es error and S raised to the power lambda. Here again we have used the backward transformation to convert this S plane can say representation to Z domain, from S domain to Z domain. And finally when we combine this UPD and UI, then it will be, we'll be able to get the combined control action, that is fuzzy PD plus I. So fractional order fuzzy PD control law. Here after applying this transformation and considering this equal to delta U1Z, then finally the delta Z domain, and we can also write it Z and T in NT form, discrete form, like this. K1, Ki and Kr. Kr is the reference. Kr is the reference, you can say gain Kr. Then we have Kp, Kd, R and T. Actually this K is different. Ki, instead of Kp we have taken K. R and T is the reference input. ENT is the error and RNT is the reference input. R is not the subscript. Then here we have, when it is PD, then it is Kp, Kd, RNT, then UPD. And so this is your fractional order fuzzy PD control law, fractional order fuzzy I control law. Finally, both combined into one. And this one is the Simulink diagram, basic block diagram for the control structure of fuzzy fractional order fuzzy PD plus I controller for nonlinear system. And here actually, because it's a fuzzy PD and fuzzy I, so fractional order fuzzy PD, fractional order fuzzy I, so it is derived in this form. And fuzzy logic design is done using fuzzification, then rule base, and then the defuzzification rule, then the 8 recombination input combination regions are there to obtain the control law. This is the control law for fractional order fuzzy PD plus I controller. Then the nonlinear 2 degree of freedom fractional order fuzzy PD controller, that is also done using the similar mathematics. So here you have this one, actually this whole 2 degree of freedom, fractional order, fuzzy PD. Previously we discussed only the 2 degree of freedom PID. Now it's 2 degree of freedom as well as fractional order and fuzzy PD. So finally, when we derive this control law, it actually becomes two basic blocks. One, it behaves as this portion behaves as the feedback filter, and this portion behaves as the feed forward compensator. Here is the desired set point, or RNT, which is the reference trajectory, and YNT is the actual position, and UNT is the input to the system, controller output, input to the system. System is our two-link robotic manipulator here. So again, the fuzzy logic design for proposed controller. Then we have also used linguistic Lyapunov based fuzzy controller. Actually, fuzzy, and along with the fuzzy, we have Lyapunov condition also is considered here. So linguistic Lyapunov based fuzzy controller is designed, and here the tracking of Maryland manipulator is considered. The model which we considered is modeled in the MATLAB, and finally the controller is tested on that model. The use of Lyapunov theorem here is to ensure the stability of the coupled system, because it's a highly complex system, Maryland manipulator, and it's a coupled system, it's a parallel manipulator, so it requires stability, and at every movement, because the movement in the joints is occurring at the complete duration of the time. So after every movement, every instantaneous movement, and the stability of the system must be maintained. So Lyapunov theory is used here to ensure the stability of the Maryland manipulator, and the Lyapunov function here is considered as L epsilon, and we know the Lyapunov function must be positive definite, and it must decrease with time, and three conditions we know must be satisfied by the Lyapunov function, that at 0 it must be 0, and if it is not 0 it should be greater than, means positive, and when we take the derivative of this Lyapunov function, then it must semi-definite, negative semi-definite. So positive definite means L epsilon greater than 0 for non-zero, and negative definite means dot, the derivative of the Lyapunov function must be negative definite. So here in this particular case, the Lyapunov function is L epsilon, half epsilon square, and what is epsilon? Epsilon is defined as P minus PD, and these are the states P and PD. These are the actual and desired velocity of the actuator angle. The joint, the movement of the joint, the velocity of the joint, this is the actual velocity of the joint, and this one is the desired velocity of the joint. And because we have two, so it will be a set epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 and epsilon dot also. So P is the angular position and P dot is the angular velocity. Again, PD, desired angular position and desired angular velocity. Now, if the first two conditions are satisfied and third condition is also satisfied, it means the system is a stable and the controller action is stable controller action. And to this Lyapunov, we have also introduced fuzziness, and the rule base is formed like this. If epsilon 1 is P, if this is also P, then LLFC output must be, suppose, NL. Okay, negative low. Then if this is 1 epsilon 1, if position is this, velocity is this, then the output of the controller Lyapunov linguistic Lyapunov fuzzy controller must be 0. Similarly here, another rule, 0, this one, the fourth rule. So these 4 rules are used, and the rule base for both the limbs are to be designed. This is the rule base for limb 1. Limb 2 will also be, for limb 2 also we'll design the rule base. Now here we know reference trajectory. We know the base M was a moving base and how it should move. So reference trajectory. Then we say inverse kinematics. Inverse kinematics means, because reference trajectory means we know the end effector position, and by doing the inverse kinematics we will come to know what is the angular position of the different joints. So that initially also I told you that inverse kinematics means when you know the end effector position and you want to know what is the position of the joints. So right now, by doing this inverse kinematics, we are able to know the angular position of the joints. So this is the we can say desired or reference angular position of the joints, and from here we'll be measuring the angular position, and finally the this controller Lyapunov fuzzy constraint introduced, and which also uses Ku here, and finally the manipulator is controlled from the you can say control input coming from here. Now what is this NSGA2? Because we have already seen that when we go for, you can say, very complex type of controller, means when you introduce 2 degrees of freedom, 2 parameters are increased. When you introduce fractional order, 2 parameters are increased in the tuning of the, you can say, controller. So controller tuning becomes a big problem. So to efficiently, because by hand we can never achieve the tuning of the 5 parameters, and therefore we have used here the NSGA2, non-dominated sorted genetic algorithm 2, version 2, for, you can say, tuning of the parameters Ki, K2 and Ku. So 4 parameters are there in LLFC, non-dominated sorting genetic algorithm 2. And actually the, you can say, the advantages or the characteristics of this algorithm are that this algorithm is a multi-objective algorithm, and because what happens if you are trying to achieve one objective, if you have a system which is having multiple objectives. So here you can see we have multiple objectives. We want to achieve the angle of θ1 also, and we want to achieve the angle of θ2 also. So multiple objectives. So by when I move the θ1, the movement of θ2 will also be dependent on the movement of the position of the link 2 will also depend upon the movement of θ1. It does not mean that movement of link 2 is controlled using only the θ2, or movement of the link 1 is yes, movement of link 1 is controlled using only θ1, but the link 2 can be moved also using the θ1. So there is you can say interaction between the two. So therefore you need to have because these are interacting objectives and interactive systems, so you need to have a multi-objective optimization algorithm. And here actually, to minimize that interaction, what we have done, we have formed a two objectives actually. One objective was to minimize the error, that is error in the positioning of the link 1, error in the positioning of the link 2, angular position of the link 2. And second objective function is considered as the, you can say, minimizing the torque. Torque also is minimized. So both the two, if I minimize the torque, then it may increase my error. So if the error is increasing, so these two objectives, they are conflicting objectives, and therefore we require the multi-objective optimization here. Now, the control strategies which we have discussed, they are done in MATLAB and i3 processor, 4 GB RAM, and the solver used here is Rangakutta with sampling time of 1 millisecond. So we have two-link manipulator controlled using fraction order fuzzy PD plus I. We have two-link manipulator controlled using 2DOF, 2 degree of freedom fraction order fuzzy PD, and Maryland manipulator controlled using LLFC controller. So these are the actually results. Here, while analyzing the results of the system or while analyzing the control strategies or behavior of the control strategies on the two manipulators, the analysis is done in 3 ways. Now, one is trajectory tracking performance, means we simply specify that our end effector should move along this direction. And when I specify that my end effector is moving along in certain direction, it also means that my joints are moving in a certain, you can say, defined way, in a certain trajectory. So movement of the theta 1 in a defined trajectory, movement of the theta 2 in the defined trajectory. So that is the trajectory tracking performance. Then the uncertainty in the parameter, as we said, that the system has a vague dynamics, and therefore the system parameters, they are changing, they may not be known accurately. So parameter uncertainty is also considered. Then varying boundary conditions is considered, which also introduces the parametric uncertainties. And I think the noise rejection is also, we'll see it later on. So trajectory tracking performance, this is the trajectory which we have specified, predefined desired trajectory. And these are the boundary conditions which we have specified. So we'll specify the reference trajectory for link 1, means theta 1 should move along this direction, along this trajectory. Similarly, theta 2 should move along this trajectory, and this is the actual, you can say, position of the theta 2. This is the actual position of the theta 1. Okay, and then disturbance, when we introduce disturbance, it is introduced in the system. This is the two-link robotic manipulator, and these are the controllers. So FOF PD plus I controller. Coming to the Pareto front, actually what this NSGA2 multi-objective function does, it obtain a number of solutions, and in say it starts from here, and initially in this particular time, actually along the x-axis we have one objective function, and along the y-axis we have one objective function, along x-axis we have another objective function. So here you can see that this, at this particular point, the objective function along x is minimized, but this objective function is not minimized. Then, so means we find out all the solutions by minimizing both the objective functions. So finally here you can see that here are both the, at this particular red dot, this one, we can see that this point seems to minimize both the you can say objective functions simultaneously, and similarly even this point, we can say that this is also minimizing our both the objective functions. But here when we move along this, then our objective function along y is minimized, but this objective function is not minimized. So that is why Pareto front actually gives a number of solutions, and out of those solutions we can pick one. So here in this particular case we have picked one from here. This is for FOF PD plus I controller. Then Pareto front of FPD plus I, we chose this. Then for PID parameters are also tuned using NSGA2, and here we have chosen this as the Pareto front for final solution for the PID tuning. So these are the controller parameters for link 1, different controller parameters. For link 1, here we have different controller parameters. For link 2, when it is a PID controller, only 3 parameters. When it is fractional order, then we have lambda and mu also. Then if we have means kp1, kd1, ki1, then k1 was also there, then kupd, means accordingly, because kupd was also function of all these. So finally we have also evaluated these parameters, so different parameters. And finally in the last actually column, the last row, it represents the integral absolute error. So if it is a fractional order fuzzy pd plus I controller, for this particular setting of this parameters, we have got this as the absolute error in the tracking of the link 1. Similarly, this much error while tracking link 1 using fpd plus I, this much is the error while tracking using PID. And similarly, this is the tracking for link 2. These are the different plots obtained. Reference link 1, then fractional order fuzzy PD plus I, link 1, PD plus I, PID. Then reference link 2, so on. So this is the tracking performance for the 2 links. This is the tracking error obtained in the 2 links using the different controllers. Then here we have how much is the control effort, because we were also minimizing the control effort. So this is the control effort, and this is the position of the end effector, final position of the end effector when theta 1 is moving like this, theta 2 is moving like this, the position of the end effector is also shown. And here actually one plot corresponds to the reference x locus and another point corresponds to the y locus. ठीक है, तो एक रेफरेंस x locus है, एक रेफरेंस y locus है. So this is the xy position variation of the end effector while different controllers are used. Then, as I said, because there are model uncertainties, we have disturbance also, we have variation in reference trajectory also. So we also need to do robustness analysis for the control strategies designed. So it bridges the gap actually between the theoretical and practical system, because in theoretical system we know no model uncertainty will be there, no disturbance will be there, reference trajectory okay, we can vary. But if these things are introduced, then means we are moving towards the practical system, making our system more close to the practical system. And so robustness analysis is carried out using these 3 adversities. So model uncertainty is varied. Model uncertainty or the effect of model uncertainty is analyzed by varying the model parameters by plus 15% and by minus 15%. So plus 15% increase in parameter and minus 15% change in the parameters. So these are the, you can say, uncertainty parameter. Now what happens, there were different parameters in the system. We had M1, we had M2, we had link 1 length, link 2 length. And so what we do while analyzing it, we have increased M1 by 15%. Then these are the IAE values, error in the tracking using the different controller. This is for link 1, this is for link 2, this controller, link 1, link 2. Then we have increased the mass by 15% of the link 2, then variation in M1 and M2 both, variation in L1, L2, variation in L1, L2 both, and finally variations in all the parameters. So different types of analysis is done. And here actually we can see that this blue one, FOFPD plus I controller, it shows very small variations in the, because when you have changed the parameters M1, this is the error, M2, this one the error, IAE, Okay. So when you change the different, or when you perturb the parameters of the system, then the performance of the FOFPD plus I controller is consistent and it is same. The error does not change much. But here, if you see PID controller, large variations are there, means PID is less robust. Similarly, even this one, that is FPD plus I, is also comparatively less robust as compared to this one. So the fractional order fuzzy PD plus I controller is providing us the robust performance in terms of parameter uncertainty. Then we have disturbance rejection. Here, as I told you, that there is cogging and eccentricity, which causes sinusoidal disturbances in the, I can say, torque. So those sinusoidal disturbances, they are generated, computer generated, and they are added into the controller output. So that control effort is, you can say, disturbed. Some disturbances added to the control effort. And finally, the locus of the end effector, we can see that it is disturbed, but not that much. So it means that the disturbance which is caused here in the controller output is rejected very good using the FOFPD plus controller. And the different disturbances which we have modeled was 1 sine 30t, 2 sine 30t, so on, for input 1, for input 2. Individually, we have introduced ear disturbance, and finally we have also introduced disturbance into both the inputs. These are the results. Again, we can see FOFPD plus I controller is providing us no change, means minimum change in the error, whereas other two are less robust. Then we have also done disturbance rejection with model uncertainty, means disturbance as well as model uncertainty. These are the results. Here again, FOFPD plus I is better. Then here results are shown for 5 sine 30t disturbance, 15% increase in all these parameters. So this is for input 1, for input 2, and for both input. This much disturbance in input 1, input 2, and both inputs, but there is change in all the parameters. Similarly here. Then trajectory tracking for varying reference trajectory, means when you vary the reference trajectory. So here you can see that the tracking means the trajectory is varied. Like previously we have actually modeled the system using different trajectory, but now we have changed the trajectory, this one and this one also. So after changing the trajectory, the tracking error is this much, and this is your control effort used, and this is the locus of the end effector. So here also the tracking error and the change in the boundary condition is also applied. In the theta R1, theta R2, the boundary conditions are also changed, and means the value of theta R1, reference theta 1 and reference theta 2, they are changed because of the changes in the boundary conditions. The error is also observed. And finally, we have seen that this controller, fractional order and fuzzy PD plus I, provides a better result. Then we also did actually experimental validation. As I said that in case of robotic manipulator, motors are used, servo motors, and commonly used servo motor is a DC motor. So we tested these control strategies on the DC motor also, to check whether whatever input we are giving, are we getting the same output or not. So the model of the DC motor is you can say a small DC motor is used, and we provided input to that and disturbance, and we observed that output is coming out to be okay or not. So efficacy is tested and validated on DC motor kit mounted on an ILVIS board. And to this system also we have actually dead zone nonlinearity was cascaded in the approximated model. The model of the DC motor was approximated also, and dead zone was added to it so that it becomes a real time type of system. This is the lab setup. We have a motor here, and this is interfaced with the system, because we know that if we are able to control the motor properly, then our joints and the end effector will be controlled efficiently. So therefore we have tested it by testing on the controllers on the DC motor. These are the parameters for the obtained for the DC motor, optimum parameters, and IAE. Parameters are again optimized using NSGE2. Tracking performance of DC speed, motor speed control. The tracking performance. Then two-link robotic manipulator is also controlled, as we have seen, using non-linear 2 degree of freedom fractional order fuzzy PD controller. And the analysis is also done. The 2 degree of freedom fuzzy PD and 2 degree of freedom PD is also analyzed, is also designed, and the robustness analysis is carried out again by introducing external disturbances, noise, and parametric uncertainty. This is the diagram of the controller with manipulator. So this is the manipulator. These two are the controller. One controller for the link 1, another controller for the link 2. And then this is the reference trajectory, and uncertainty noise introduced here. Parameters. Controller parameters, tuned parameters for the different controllers. These are the plots for reference tracking without any disturbance. And the error here is also, we can see that error is quite less. -3 here, -4. So as you go on complicating your controller, actually PID nahi bana, but still we can see that this PID, if you compare it with PID, as you go on introducing complications, you go on enhancing the PID controller. Means here you have introduced 2 DOF, here we have introduced 2 DOF fractional, 2 DOF fuzzy, and this one is 2 DOF fractional order as well as fuzzy. So as you go on increasing the complications, the mathematics into the PID controller, then the parameters keep on increasing, which need to be properly tuned using some suitable optimization technique, and the performance also goes on improving. Model uncertainty, again, changes in M1, changes in M2, both M1, M2, L1, L2, changes in both L1, L2, and changes in all the 4 parameters. So accordingly, if we look at the plots here, again, we have seen 2 degree of freedom and fractional order fuzzy PD. It's coming out to be, as you go on enhancing the parameter, if you go on enhancing the PID controller, you will get a better performance. Then we have also introduced noise, sinusoidal noise again into the system, and observed the noise rejection capability. Here, 0.01, we also introduced 0.01 radian noise to both the links. Random noise is also used. And in case of disturbance, we have used sinusoidal disturbance. So while observing all these, we have seen that for different cases, we have studied disturbance with parameter changes also. And we have seen that you can see your 2 degree of freedom fractional order fuzzy PD is providing us the minimum error and changes in the error is also less. So this gives us a robust controller. Then the last one, that is the linguistic Lyapunov based fuzzy controller for manipulated results. And we have already seen it's a highly complex non-linear coupled system, and controller is controller used also uh, is also having Lyapunov stability criteria into it, so it ensures the stability of the Maryland manipulator. And the controllers, other controllers are also designed: PID, fractional order fuzzy P, and fractional order fuzzy PID controller. So this is the same diagram as we have seen previously. The parameters are tuned using, here also parameters are tuned using NSGA2. In LLFC, you do not require, we have only K1, K2, and KU, whereas in this, we have all these lambda, U, KP, KI, KD, and all, because here also you will require the K1, K2, KU. So fraction order fuzzy P, this is the performance of the Maryland manipulator. And these are the reference trajectories, actually, different reference trajectories which we have considered. This is the reference trajectory for exposition performance. These are the errors. When there is change in the trajectory, major change, large change in the trajectory, then we get error. Otherwise, the error is quite less. And in case of linguistic Lyapunov fuzzy, the error is lower than all these three. And here we have examined the sum of squared error, desired torque, and the actual torque. Tau 1 means the torque of the first one. So, and we also do it for the 2, Tau 1, and Tau 2 also we'll do both. Robustness analysis is also done here. Disturbance is added, and then the IAE or SSE is studied. So here we have introduced the disturbance, and SSE is studied for the different controllers. These are the plots. You can see here. Even here we can see that LLFC is providing lower error, and changes in error is also very less as compared to the other controllers. So finally, we can say that our fractional order fuzzy PD plus IE and even 2DOF, these and LLFC these are proposed and successfully implemented on the two types of manipulators, and performance is tested against the traditional controllers, and extensive simulation as well as experimental studies performed for trajectory tracking. And robustness analysis is also done on the basis of disturbance rejection, model uncertainty, noise suppression is also studied to validate the designed controllers. And finally, it is revealed that a controller will perform efficiently and it will offer accurate and tight positioning control if we go on introducing, means you can say, flexibility into the system. And that flexibility comes when we introduce more variable parameters, more tunable parameters. So means introducing fractional calculus, or introducing more degrees of freedom, or in case of LLFC, we are introducing the stability of the stability condition into the controller, so as to keep our controller or system all the time in stable condition. So this all provides a tight positioning control for robotic manipulator. And the controllers, the proposed controllers, they are highly robust to the changes and to you can say inherent disturbance, to the changes in model parameters, and to the input noise. So this is all about the, you can say, control of the robotic manipulators using the intelligent techniques, and the intelligence here which we used was only the fuzzy technique or fuzzy logic control based. So that's all for from my side. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your valuable knowledge on robotics and artificial intelligence. Sir, I'm sure your address will help a lot in understanding the robotic and artificial intelligence and its concept. Once again, thank you so much.